So we're going to talk about the first 20. Now this is what I think is going to really continue to help you guys get straight A's, and it's knowing the basics. This is the basics of algebra. I'm going to give you the easiest one of them all first because I want you to see they're not all like difficult. Don't overthink this one. What is 2/3 times 4/7? Yes, ma'am. 8 over 21. You just multiply across the top and the bottom, and that is it. Okay, so they're not all hard. Pro tip, though. What if this had been a 12 up here? If it had been a 12, do you get it? Would have been smart to go, oh, I can change that into a 4 times 3 so that the 3's would cancel. See what I did there? So if you have that in your problem, cancel that first. Then it's still going to be 8 over 7. And it's still easy, but cancel stuff first if you can. So everybody try this one. 2/3 times 5 twelfths. Do you see what cancels? I do. Kai, is it the 2, the 5, the 3, or the 12 that can get factored?
12.
And it turns into what times what?
2 times 6.
And the reason you chose 2 is so this would cancel. Nice work. And then the final answer is what over what? 5? Just in case you were like thinking this is a trick question or something. No, it's a 5. It's that simple because this is a 1 when it cancels off. Technically that turns into a 1. Over 18. There you go. Okay, now here's the next level question. What would you have if you had a fraction over a fraction? Well, I don't even do that. I refuse to do them this way. I go, not doing that, but I will do this. Do you get what I just did there? All right. So I flipped the second one over. So now, what have I got? 10 twelfths. Would that reduce? Yeah, but that's pretty easy. My way of reducing 10 twelfths is to say that's like 5 times 2 over 6 times 2. And the 2's cancel, 5/6. I don't think anybody can beat me on speed there. This turning into this is a pretty smart way to do it. Okay, so if it's a fraction over a fraction, that's what you're going to do. So try this one. 2/3 divided by 1/7. If you understand what's going on, you'll be able to go slam, bam, done. Easy peasy. This is a blank notability doc, sir. About as easy as it gets for finding the key document. All right. Beckett, this is really 2/3 times what?
7 over 1.
Yep. And what's the final answer?
14 over 3.
14/3. Done. So you don't divide by a fraction. Change it to times and flip it. All right, next kind. Do you remember these? Remember doing the splits? We did this earlier in the year. Okay, just checking attendance quick. All right, so x minus 3 is 2, and x minus 3 is negative 2. Who had remembered that? Okay, awesome. Then, you just have to solve them. Add 3, x equals 5. add 3, x equals -1. And if you're really like concerned, did it really work? Try putting in the 5 ones. Look, it works.
That'd be the positive one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. +1. And I would have been able to tell though, because I was about to stick that 1 in right here and see if it worked. And if I'd have put in a -1, it wouldn't have worked. Yeah. But the regular one does work, so good catch. Okay, so next kind of problem that you got to be ready for on this is plain old-fashioned factoring when it doesn't factor. What the heck do you do to solve something that doesn't factor? Well, first of all, warning, they're going to make it equal like a number. The first thing you do is like, nope, you can't do that. So you add 1 to both sides. And you'll have x squared plus 3x plus 1 equals 0. You always set quadratics equal to 0. That's step number 1. Okay, then if you can factor it, you should. And you won't be able to factor it. So x equals -b plus or minus square root. Do you remember what's under the square root? Do you remember what's under the square root? Do you know, sir? Or do you have a question or what's up?
4AC also, and I go refill my water.
B squared minus 4AC is correct. And yes, go ahead. All over what? 2A. Now you may remember this part from our formula on our last test. But that right there, my friends, is the whole formula. So then here's A, which is really a 1. Here's B, and here's C. And you stick them in and you simplify it down. Not going to sugarcoat it. That's only for the A students. If you're just really struggling in this class, you may not get that one. It's pretty tough. It's a 16-part formula, and you got to stick these 3 numbers in it. You're in higher algebra. You're supposed to be able to do this, but I know this is going to be the most marked wrong question because keeping all those numbers straight in the answer is tough. So when it gets down to like this and you find out that it's 4 plus and minus the square root of 7 all over like 3, Schoology will have you enter it in 3 parts. That part, and that part. 4 is easy to put in. 3 is easy to put in. How the heck are you supposed to put in square root of 7?
SQRT7.
SQRT7 is correct. That's how you put in square root. I'm not saying that this is the right answer. I'm saying if this was the answer.
Parentheses around the 7.
And it can't, I actually put it in both ways. Parentheses is what I prefer. But you said it that way, so I thought I'll take it that way. All right. So that's for sure the hardest one. All right, back to another fairly easy one. -4n plus 1 is greater than 7. It's really not that hard. The question is, will the kid remember to switch the sign at the right moment? Josh, what's the first step?
Subtract 1.
Yup. -4n greater than 6. Now what?
You want to divide 4, -4.
Yup. And switch the thing. Yes. Negative, wait a minute. 6 divided by 4 is like 3 over 2. So -3 over 2. And that's the answer. Don't forget that sign switched. Why? Because we divided or multiplied by a negative. Sign switches. All right. Other than that one, you feeling like this isn't that hard, is it? Like you can do these. Okay. So this one is just like what we've just been doing. It's factoring, but it's got factoring on the top and the bottom. And you just have to factor the top and the bottom, and then, spoiler alert, something will cancel. Go ahead. Factor the top, factor the bottom. Something will cancel. So this is what my continuing effort by doing these I think I've been giving you an advantage in my class. And that's why the average in here is really high. The average grade is very high, which is wonderful. And I think it's because we've been working on these things. There could be other reasons. This is a complicated equation, but I think if you got your basics down way better than most classes, like if I had U test and I had average person's higher algebra test on those basics, you'd do way better. I think that's, in the end, those little things are what's getting you from a B to an A, or from some of you from a C to a B, because you've been getting those little basics better than the other people. All right, how about this? X minus 3x plus 1. Did you know that? That's factoring. How did I know for sure that was right? Because I multiply it back out. And then it's the outside and the inside. 1x and negative 3x makes a total of negative 2x. It worked. X plus 3, x minus 3. Cancel those. And they would ask you, what's the numerator? And you'd type in x plus 1. What's the denominator? And you'd type in x plus 3. They ask you to enter it as two separate things. What's the numerator, which is the top, and what's the denominator, which is the bottom. I got to read you this because it just came in. Let's just do one last kind. And that is, yes, this kind. 5a squared b, all of that squared, times 2b to the third. That's a lot, and that's why this is on here, because can you handle this many little things? Well, first thing, a lot of kids just forget about the 5. Of course, you can't just forget about the 5, but you for sure shouldn't have a 5 in your answer. Hazel, what would you have in the answer instead of the 5? 25. 25. And then you factor in the 2, and you put it all together. Why? Because this is all one big multiply problem. So all the numbers just get clustered to the beginning. I know a lot of people think, but that 2 has a special relationship with the b. No, it doesn't. It's all a big multiply. They're all being multiplied. So you should have thought 25, a to the fourth, b to the second, because that was a 1. And yeah, this kind, you multiply them. Okay. And then it's times 2b to the third. And then the question is whether you knew what to do with that kind. The 2 and the 25 make 50. A to the fourth, b to the 5 is correct. You add them when they're like that. Any questions about that? All right, then let's solidify, lock this down. We're going to be taking the basic 20, the first 20, the second part. Then, when you're done, I'll be releasing this worksheet, which is actually your homework, which is just plain old-fashioned factoring. The hardest one is like this kind. You see how there's a 4 in everything? And you got to factor that out first? All right. So whenever there's a negative in front, factor that out too. So that's how you'd start that one. You'd factor out a negative 4. And you get x squared minus 5x, because negative times negative makes positive. See? And then minus 6. And then it factors again. So anyway, that's one of your homework questions, just like that. All right, I don't think that worksheet's going to be that hard. But this Schoology quiz, whew, I'm excited to see how you do. All right, so when we're done with this, it's just the worksheet that'll be posted, and that's all we got.